Hi everybody and welcome back to another Legends of Runeterra video and gameplay. Today I have this deck, Bloody Braum. I have showcased this deck in the past. It is one of my favorite decks. I first came up with this concept the patch before Braum was buffed. So I was using Braum in this deck and in kind of a high performing deck too before he was even buffed, and then he got buffed the next patch and then the deck was just super good. And now, unfortunately, with the nerf of Crimson Disciple, the synergy isn't quite as good, but I wanted to showcase this deck again today and kind of test out the viability still, and if it can still perform in this meta, even with the Crimson Disciple being nerfed. Unfortunately for this, I guess, deck in particular, we're running Swain and Braum, and the unfortunate thing is the Crimson Disciple was mostly nerfed because of her prevalence in Piltover and Noxus aggro decks. It was just producing way too much damage potential between Transfusion and all of the other 2-cost cards that could deal 2 damage to the enemy Nexus, including the Legion Grenadier, among some other cards that have been nerfed, like the Boom Crew Rookie, but it just represented way too much damage, easy to deal a ton of just burst speed damage with Transfusion and other spells, and they had to nerf her because of that. Now this deck was nerfed as a side effect of that as well, and it was nerfed mostly because, well, you do deal a little bit less damage to the enemy Nexus, but it takes longer to now level up Swain. Swain before, when I had Crimson Disciples out along with Ember Maiden, I could level up Swain by the time it was turn 5. All of a sudden, Swain was leveled up coming out of my hand, and then at turn 5, it's very common for the enemy not to have units that have more than 3 attack damage, so they couldn't block into Swain. And if they did, then I could have a Braum out, and Braum can just challenge those units. And between those and the Overwhelm units, like from the Poros and from Ruthless Raider, I could get clean strikes onto the enemy Nexus and just completely wipe out their board. But because of that, Swain doesn't always come out leveled up, so it's a lot slower now, and you can definitely feel it. You're potentially slowing him twice as much if the only source of non-combat damage that you have in your hand is the Crimson Disciple. Then yeah, you're leveling him up half as fast. But overall, this deck is still, I believe, worth running. It still has a lot of potential, and I really like running kind of off-meta cards like the Ember Maiden and the self-damage, along with some self-healing like the Kindly Tavern Keeper. Ember Maiden just really pressures the enemy into making moves that they don't want to. I really like her design, and if you build a deck around her, she can be super powerful. There's a lot of cards out right now. Fizz is running around kind of as an anti-meta to Twisted Fate Ezreal decks. The Ember Maiden can take out Fizz in one hit or one turn, so they have to take out the Ember Maiden before that. Typically they'll do that with things like Make It Rain and Crimson Shot, and you can save her with the Elixir of Iron. If she's already had one tick of her passive go off, you can use things like Take Heart, and that just kind of adds even more pressure, and you're dealing even more sustained damage every round. And then Twisted Fate as well. With the Twisted Fate running around in Ezreal decks, you can kill Twisted Fate again in 2 turns. Just a whole ton of pressure from this Ember Maiden, and like I said, you get Take Heart, you can just buff her up, and all of a sudden she just is dealing damage every round to these kind of aggro decks that don't have a lot of life on their units, just clearing boards and dealing a ton of damage, leveling up Swain. Again, Swain can get huge hits onto the enemy Nexus between all of our Overwhelm units, Braum challenging the kind of bulkier ones and getting them out of the way. And then we're cleaning up everything with Scarmother Vrina and with the Leviathan. We're running 2 of each of those. Scarmother Vrina works really well with the Ember Maiden. The Overwhelm just comes in handy as well. She can get 6-9 damage in a couple of turns being played after the Ember Maiden. And the Leviathan, when Swain is down, is also just stunning the backline enemies and just preventing them from blocking into Swain, and just the same thing, making contact with the Nexus and then dealing a ton of damage to all the units and to the Nexus itself. So overall, my kind of opinion is, yes, the deck is nerfed because of the Crimson Disciple. You can still get it to work though, and it is still relatively good against these aggro decks and against it's good against Fizz and Ezreal decks as well. So that's about it. That's my assessment for this deck. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks. Okay, so Teemo and Zed. So this is going to be an early game aggressive deck, most likely with a Lucid unit. So I really want to be looking for the Ember Maiden. That'd be super nice to have early on. Actually, we might keep these here. We're going to most likely switch out the Swain here. Once again, I am worried about early game aggression and having to deal with elusives. If I don't have early game units to play, then I'm probably going to lose this game. I'm kind of on the edge even of keeping Braum, mostly because Braum is a turn 4 play, and this deck can do a ton of damage before turn 4. Another thing we need to be a little bit cautious of is Twin Disciplines. Twin Disciplines can really hurt us. We're going to play our Crimson Disciple here. And we're most likely going to do an open attack with the Crimson Disciple, try to take out this Green Glade duo, but if not, then we also will activate Shared Spoils to use. He more than likely is not going to block here. If he does, he has to use Twin Disciplines. So yes, we get the Plunder off here. We're going to be able to draw a unit. And now we can play a Ruthless Raider as well. So he played, like, if you are playing Green Glade duo decks, he had enough mana. It would have been probably more efficient to have used this the next round, so he would have kept his buffed unit.
Everyone here? Let's go.
Oh, and he didn't get he didn't get Allegiance. Well, that's lucky for me. Alright, so he's got 2 mana here. We are just going to play our Braum. And this is most likely going to force him to not attack with his Kinku Wayfinder. So that actually turned out really good for us here. Once again, we're going to open attack here. We've got a lot of kind of life gain options here, so there's not really anything bad about this. I'm going to drag the Kinku Wayfinder, so he's forced to block if he's going to with these 2 units here. Okay, and he's not. We've got some life heal as well with the Kindly Tavern Keeper, so long as he doesn't have like another Kinku Wayfinder and get more of his units out, we're in pretty good shape. He kind of screwed himself by not getting the Allegiance proc here. I've got plenty of ways to save this Braum. I think we're just going to use Take Heart. Actually, do I want Take Heart yet? Because yes, Take Heart I think is fine here. So Braum is going to be at 5 of 10. And he also had to discard a card. I didn't see what it was though. So he discarded the Solitary Monk. Alright, gonna let him go again. Maybe he's got another one. Nope, got a Teemo. Alright, once again he plays the Teemo first. He gets more value if he plays the Teemo afterwards, especially since he is just burning the mana anyway, so.
Full speed ahead.
Alright, so he most likely doesn't have Zed in his hand here. He's not going to attack, of course, with the Kinku Wayfinder. We're just going to have to let this go through. And we're going to play our Kindly Tavern Keeper here.
Good times, good friends. What could be better?
And now we've got a combo next round with Transfusion and Take Heart, as well as an Overwhelm unit. So we're going to take out one of these Green Glade duos here, more than likely with the Braum, and then force him to block with the Teemo and the other Kinku Wayfinder, or the other Green Glade duo here. Okay, so that turns into a Braum.
Leave nothing standing. How about another round?
Yeah, so the Kinku Wayfinder, this seems like the right move here. He has to, we're threatening lethal here, so he's going to have to block.
I'll take care of this.
3 damage, we can win this game if he does not block here with all of his units.
Can't spoil the surprise.
And 6 damage, so we...
Vandal scouts are never afraid.
Okay. Let's see here. So we can still win this game.
Look what you did.
We are going to force him. We're not going to use the Braum Take Heart. We're going to force him to use a spell if he has it. We are threatening lethal once again. And we have a second Braum's Take Heart if he has some way to block this. More than likely he doesn't. Yeah, we're just going to win this game now. So that was a pretty good gameplay, to be honest. We actually were more aggressive than he was, even though he was representing more of an aggro deck. So you can kind of see the potential of this deck being a kind of semi-aggro tempo deck. It was better before the Crimson Disciple was nerfed, but you kind of did see some potential for her there still. Especially when you open up with her. We got that early game hit on the Nexus and got the plunder and the shared spoil, so that was nice. Yeah, the Take Heart and the Transfusion are really an excellent combo card kind of piece in this deck, where especially with Overwhelm units, we're guaranteed extra damage with the Transfusion buff and the Take Heart. So overall, pretty good gameplay, to be honest, and we kind of out-aggroed that deck with the elusive. So and Kindly Tower Keeper actually came in play there too. If we hadn't drawn all of the Take Hearts, the Kindly Tower Keeper is an excellent backup to mitigate a lot of the damage taken by elusive units and other units that we can't block. So that's about it for this gameplay. Hope you enjoyed it.